Hey folks, Leave here once again. Hope you enjoyed my review of Wonder Woman from 2017 starring Gal Gadot and directed by Patty Jenkins. And like I said over the next review, sorry. Guys, remember it is the mass profile picture. Yes, thank you for the 200 subs, guys. Keep on subscribing. I appreciate it. Keep on watching, guys. I got more videos planned and more videos in the future planned ahead. Well, I haven't planned all that far ahead, but I'll plan more videos like I always do, guys. And I'm gonna make sure that this channel grows. So I'm not quitting YouTube. So if you don't see me for a while, remember it's just because I'm either busy, it's either family stuff, it could be work, or maybe I'm trying to get a job. So sometimes if you don't see me, it's because when I get a job and I'm working, it's hard to do videos when you are working or when you do have a job because of hours. You have to work, but hey, you gotta pay the bills, so I gotta get a job eventually. Anyway, so this next review, of course, this is the 16th film in the MCU. This film stars Tom Holland, Robert Downey Jr., Michael Keaton, and it's directed by John Watts. This is the another reboot of Spider-Man series as we saw the character in Spider-Man. I mean, Captain America Civil War, and that is a review for Spider-Man: Homecoming, which I really love this movie. Yeah, I'm in it. I loved it. I enjoyed it. Is it perfect? No. I can see that some of these movies, like Far From Home and No Way Home, which is all about nostalgia. I'm not saying these movies are perfect. They're not. They have issues. And, the Andrew Garfield ones had issues too, but I do enjoy The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I do think they could have continued on with. I'd rather Andrew continue it, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. But I could definitely say I like the Amazing Spider-Man films more than these, but that's just me. And I like Spider-Man 1 and 2 more than these, but that's just my opinion. But it's definitely better than Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3, in my opinion, that is still the worst Spider-Man film ever. That's just my opinion. I hate that movie. I think it's boring. I think it's awful. I hate Bully McGuire. I hate that he's dancing. Any dance scene where they just deal with a villain in the Spider-Man movie, like Morbius, is awful. But these are definitely better than I think than the Venom movies. This is better than Venom, the Venom movies, Morbius, and I'm sure it's better than Madam Web. And I'm sure it's better than Carol Craven the Hunter. I haven't seen those two, but I know they're gonna suck. Spider-Man 3, I could watch over those, but Spider-Man 3 at least had good action. But despite that, that film was still boring. And as a Spider-Man film, I would say it's the worst one still. But I can see why some people maybe don't like these movies. I get it. It's not for everyone. You know, I do have my issues with this movie. Despite that, it is still entertaining though. And I will say it is a good homecoming for Steve. It's just because he's fighting in the MCU where he belongs. He belongs in Marvel. But even though Sony still technically owns him, Sony still owns the character, I believe. So yeah, Marvel was just coming in to help out. That's it. They just needed their help, you know, to keep the character on screen. They still got to keep the rights, but to keep the movies going, they need to let Marvel help out, the MCU help them out. That's why they gave it to the MCU. But they still do own him technically. Yeah. Because at that many titles of this movie, you'll see a logo. It'll say Sony. Tell me I'm wrong. Yeah. And again, if you hate the movie, that's fine. Some people do hate this movie and hate the two other movies. I don't. But I will say I have my issues with them. I will get to that though. With each movie. Yeah. For the reduction though, there are so many things from the comics that haven't been done yet. Stories that Spider-Man is high school for a lot of it. We want to explore that. That also makes him very, very different from many of our other MCU characters in the MCU. Following the November 2014 hacking of Sony's computers and emails between Sony and Pictures and co-chairman Amy Pascal, President Doug Bullock were released, stating that Sony wanted Marvel Studios to produce a new trilogy of Spider-Man films, while Sony retained creative control, marketing, and distribution. Discussions between Sony and Marvel broke down, and Sony planned to proceed with their own slate of Spider-Man films. However, in February 2015, Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios announced that they would release a new Spider-Man film with Kevin Feige. I remember when that happened. With Kevin Feige and Basil producing. Later through company Basil Pictures, the character would first appear in an earlier film in the MCU. That was Captain America Civil War, of course. Marvel Studios would explore the opportunities to interrogate interact MCU characters in future Spider-Man films, which Sony Pictures will continue to finance, distribute, and have final creative control over. Both studios have the ability to terminate the agreement at any point, and no money was exchanged for the deal. However, a small adjustment was made to a 2011 deal that gave more full control of Spider-Man's merchandising rights in exchange for a one-time payment of $175 million to Sony paying up $35 million for each future Spider-Man film, rather than receiving their own previous 5% of Spider-Man films. Marvel can now reduce their $35 million payment if the co-produced film grossed more than $750 million. Marvel Studios still received 5% of first dollar gross for the film. Lone Star Funds also co-financed the film with Sony, covering 25% of the $175 million budget. Columbia Pictures officially served as a co-producer with Marvel Studios. Sony also paid Marvel Studios producer fee. Marvel have been working to add Spider-Man to the Marvel Cinematic Universe since October 2014, but then they announced their slate of Phase 3 films. With Fee saying Marvel doesn't announce anything officially until it's in stone. So we went forward with that Plan A in October, with the Plan B being if the deal would happen to Sony, and how that would shift. We've been thinking about the Spider-Man film as long as we've been thinking about it. AVR and Matt Thomas produced the Amazing Spider-Man series. They serve as executive producers. With neither Mark Webb nor actor Archie Garfield are going to be in the return for the film. Of course they didn't. Sony was reportedly looking for an actor younger than Garfield to play Spider-Man. Logan Lerman, Dylan O'Brien were considered. When O'Brien had no person for the role, Garfield, who was previously attached to Sony's film based on Sinister Six, later said he declined to work on the new film, as he thought he didn't really have an idea for what and struggled with the idea of working on a new film. Spending a year working on the Sinister Six film and being in the mindset. While promoting the visualization of Ultron, Feige said the character of Peter Parker will be around 15 to 16 years old in the film, which would not be an origin story. So I guess in Iron Man 2, the kid that with his shoot, I guess that wasn't Peter Parker. Alright. We're going to take it for granted that people know who that is. Parker's Uncle Ben is still referenced in the film, but not by name. There was some discussion including different reference to Ben when Peter was getting ready for his homecoming, with the revelation that his wardrobe consisted of Ben's clothes. But the writers, because they felt that the moment veered away from Parker's character arc and made Ben's death feel like a throwaway line. Later in April, some other actors were under consideration by Sony. May 2015, John Lehman, some other actors were being considered to direct the film. Of course, Tom Holland was screen tested. He was also screen tested, I believe, for Captain America Civil War to play Peter Parker Spider-Man. He also screen tested with Robert Downey Jr. and he got the point. Even from what I heard, he even pressed Downey Jr. So he got the part. And the thing he's looking for chemistry, and I guess Downey felt like, yeah, I have chemistry with the kid. Yeah, cast him. Well, producer decided. The Russo brothers and the directors of Captain America Civil War, they will later be cast as Bruno Cruller in the Marvel Studios Disney Plus Miss Marvel. By early June 2015, LeVon and Melfi had to become the favorites to direct the film, and John was also in consideration. Both screen testing with Downey again. Holland also tested with Chris Evans, who portrays Steve Rogers' character, and he emerged as the favorite. On June 23rd, Marvel and Sony officially announced that Holland would star as Spider-Man and that Watts would direct the film. The originals were pretty vocal about who they wanted for the part, pushing to cast an actor close to the age of Peter from the previous portrayals. They also praised Holland for his having a dancing, gymnastic background. Watts was also able to read the Civil War script. Talks with the Russos and was on set with the filming of Spider-Man scenes in that film. He was able to see what they were doing with it, including what Parker's bedroom and wardrobe looked like, so that made movie transcends seemingly with theirs. Enjoying the MCU and directing the film, Watts said he was excited to explore the ground level of the MCU. Where characters like the Avengers exist, but have only been in previous films, at the penthouse level of the Marvel world. Before getting the job of director, Watts created and managed Nick Fury as Parker's mentor in the story, and early more test screenings. I don't know what the situation would be, but they would be a person he wanted to get in trouble with. Fury said the films John Hughes would be a major influence in that Parker's personal growth and development would be just as important as his role as Spider-Man. He knows that aged in high school, everything feels like life or death. He also said that the film hoped to use one of Spider-Man's rogues that had not been seen in film yet. Marissa Tomei had been offered the role of May Parker, Peter's aunt, looking for that Daily Ghostman while missing out on the director role, and he was given 3 days to present Marvel with their pitch. Both of them were sure after that they had reached a deal to write the screenplay. His previous, Spider-Man was creating a larger list of elements seen in all those films, trying to avoid reusing them. The shooter focused on high school aspects of the character rather than the drama and weight of the tragedy that leads to the origin. So there is no origin in this movie, by the way, like there is with the original Spider-Man from 2002 and the Amazing Spider-Man. Both those movies are origins, but here we don't get an origin because he's already Spider-Man. Yeah. Such as Fear Heights, he had to scale the Washington Monument. Even with the context of this movie, I don't think he would put the Fear of Heights or Vertigo of the Audience feels in that scene if you establish him as swinging skyscrapers at the top of the movie. The writers wanted to avoid the skyscraper of Manhattan. Often they used it in other films. Marvel encouraged Daily Films to express their own sense of humor in the script. They say, when you're seeing the world through the eyes of a fun, funny kid, you can embrace that voice and not give him a quick cut of one-liners to hear from Peter Parker. Because Peter Parker, it's like, buy me, can't buy me love, say anything, almost famous. That's some of his favorite films in the genre. Watch wanted to heavily visualize the film, especially in his action sequences, as he does on his films for Homecoming. Watch wanted the team to figure out the visual language for the action sequences. Sony shifted the film's release date from July 7th, 2017. The film will be remastered for IMAX 3D. J.K. Simmons expressed interest in restoring his role as J. Jonah Jameson from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. We did see him at the end of Far From Home and, of course, No Way Home. I don't know if he's going to be in the new Spider-Man film. Early March, Dana was cast as the film's Michelle, and Tommy was confirmed to come back as May Parker. The following month featured friendly characters from previous MCU will appear. The deal formed with Sony does not specify what characters can and cannot cross over. The sharing between the studios were done with good faith in order to have more toys to play with together at a story. The agreement is that we very much a Sony Pictures movie. We're the creative producers. We're the one hiring the direct actor. Michael Keaton talks to play a villain, but Jared Dudley shortly thereafter due to the social conflicts with the founder, which is a movie about the history of McDonald's. He played Ray Kroc. At this point, though, they approached to fill the role and his negotiations can do so. Keaton soon re talks with the role after they changed the schedule for the founder, which Marvel asked Lugosi if he would step away from the role to cast Keaton. Keaton closed the deal in late May. Marvel offered to cast Lugosi in another role, which he considered tiny and declined. Mark Hamill was interested in playing the villain's villain, in case Keaton turned down the offer, but Keaton reconsidered the offer in time, which I'm glad he did. Thunder's a good movie, but I'm glad he, it's awesome they got Michael Keaton, Batman himself, to play the villain. I mean, come on. Yeah. Donald Glover and Martin Starr joined the cast and unclusables. Martin Starr, by the way, I think he was, let's see. Okay, yeah, he was Bill in Freaks and Geeks. Yeah. He was one of the freaks, one of the geeks, the geeky kids. Yeah. It's awesome that he's in here. I love that show, Freaks and Geeks. Donald Glover, let's see. I'll probably look him up later. What's it that they wanted the cast to reflect Queens as one of the most diverse places in the world, with Fiji adding that we want everyone to recognize themselves a version of our universe. They made was like Peter, like Flash Thompson. Spider-Man's costume in this film has more technical improvements than the previous suits. The logo on the chest being a remote drone, a system start. And again, I like the suit in the movie. Now let me take this flip cover off. The only thing I can change about it, I like this poster, but I wouldn't add Iron Man in there. But that's just me. Filming began on June 20, 2016 at Pine Wonderland Studios in Fayette, Georgia. I believe that Tom Holland, dressed up in a Spider-Man suit, went to kids that have cancer and are very sick. He would go and visit them. You know, filming took place in Atlanta. Location included Grady High School, downtown Atlanta. I'm from Georgia. Yeah. Holland said building New York sets in Atlanta was cheaper than actually filming in New York. Casting continued at the start of production with some other key, I'm just reading here. I don't need. I'm gonna read the entire cast anyway. Harris noted that the young actors in the film constantly refer to herself as the Breakfast Club. Creech confirmed that Keaton will play Adrian Toomes, aka Vulture, and Woodbean will reveal to play Herman Shocker. That's shocking. Sorry. The film features memorable post-credit scenes. The first gives the Vulture a chance at redemption, showing him to protect Peter Parker from another villain. Well, I said this was a really interesting thing in the development of the story. He couldn't just rely on the tropes of the truth of villains being a murderer and killing other people. He had to be redeemable in some way, and then that he's everything he said, especially about his family. The second place with Captain America. Uh, the visual effects for the film was made by Sony Pictures and Magicworks and Industrial Light and Magic. Limo Pictures, General Dominic, and Kane. I'm not gonna read everything here. When Peter reveals his secret to Aunt May, like to be the when Iron Man would do that. I'm like, no, that's yeah, yeah. For the music score, Roberto Strange, Michael Gino composed the music for the film and composed the score for Homecoming as well. Michael Gino's music score isn't as memorable in my opinion as Danny Elfman's. While Danny Elfman's I don't think is that big, I do think it's more memorable. I'm not big on his score for Spider-Man, Danny Elfman's, but I like Mark Webb's score, the Hans Zimmer score to Spider-Man, and especially the late James Horner. Sorry, I like that. That's probably my favorite Spidey score. I know people disagree with that. It's just my opinion though. But this score isn't very memorable. But for the marketing of the movie, I do remember the poster of Spider-Man just hanging out like on the city, just relaxed. I'm using thumbnail for the video by the way when he's like got the yellow jacket on with the headphones. Yeah, I remember the crazy posters and stuff for this movie. I remember the trailer. The trailer got me excited. One thing negative I have to say is, yeah, this poster looks like crap. It looks awful. And I think with the DVD cover, take Iron Man off because it's a Spider-Man movie. Yeah, I know the trailers. By the way, spoiler. There are gonna be spoilers in this review. By the way, Spider-Man web swinging and you know flying and flying. Spider-Man's flying. That's not in the movie. Yeah, he's in this movie, but this is not Iron Man film. But anyway, yeah, for the marketing, let's see. Pizza Hut has stuff for the movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pizza Hut has stuff for the movie. See Spider-Man there. I don't think that was for home. That was for Homecoming, I believe. I think so. Yeah, yeah. There was a commercial. Let me see. Yeah. So Pizza Hut did some marketing for Spider-Man. Yeah, there were Cinnamon's cereal, whatever, for Spider-Man. If I pull it up, yeah, yeah. Spider-Man on cereal boxes and stuff, like him fighting the Vulture. Yeah, Spider-Man was on Reese's Puff cereal and stuff, and I guess Spider-Man was on Lucky Charm, Giggles TV spot. Oh, that's okay. No, that's I'm sorry, wrong one. Of course, they had toys for the movie. Yeah, there's the suit he has in the movie, the older suit. Yeah, I hate to disappoint you, but Shocker doesn't wear that cool suit in the movie. Hmm. And of course, Dave and Buster's. Then we have it here in South Carolina. But anyway, Georgia, we have Dave and Buster's where you can play arcade and stuff. That's cool. Well, I'm sure they have it maybe in the States too. I don't know. But anyway, They had like an arcade video game for Spider-Man: Homecoming. Yeah. And for the cast of the film, you have Tom Holland as Peter Parker Spider-Man, a 15-year-old who gains spider-like abilities after being bitten by a radioactive spider. He's dealing with life of being a high school kid, and he wants to deal with the responsibility of being Spider-Man. So it's got a lot of different crowd. He wants to be a hero. He wants to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but he's got to learn how to be a kid too. Yeah. But Tom Holland's first appearance as the character was, of course, Spider-Man: Homecoming. I know he's in the movie Uncharted, but I can't see him as Nathan Drake. I'm sorry. Yeah. But of course, he would go on to play the character again, and after Civil War, that was uh, what was Infinity War, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man No Way Home. Yeah, I guess he's going to be coming out with the new Spider-Man movie too, and Spies in Disguise and Onward. I remember him doing that. Onward, he worked with that movie on. It's a Pixar animated movie. I saw Spies in Disguise with my friend Ashley Greer. We were supposed to entertainment from that. We went to the driving movie theater, but we saw Spies in Disguise, which I thought was decent. You know, a decent movie. But Tom Holland worked with that with Will Smith, and he worked with Chris Pratt, who of course plays Star Lord in the MCU. With Onward, I like Onward. That's a good Pixar movie in my opinion. Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, Vulture. Now Michael Keaton, you probably should know him for Batman, of course. Come on, folks. Batman '89, Batman Returns. I'm gonna mention the RoboCop remake if you want to call, they call that a superhero movie, but that's not. He's been played a villain too, like Pacific Heights. That's a real good movie. I enjoy Pacific Heights. He was in Spotlight, The Founder. I know he returns as Beetlejuice and Beetlejuice, but I haven't seen it. Mr. Mom, Night Shift. He started out in comedies basically, and of course in the original Beetlejuice and Batman and Batman Returns playing Bruce Wayne Batman, and then coming back to play that character in 2023 in The Flash. Hmm. Yeah. But Adrian Toomes, Vulture, he is one of Spider-Man's villains. Yeah, in the comic. He says other names too, but he's part of the Sinister Six. Toomes was born in Staten Island, New York. He's a former electric engineer who was once Gregory Bestman's best business partner. He has a flight, a special electronic harness of his own design that lets him fly. His flight is directed by a pair of automatic wings on his arms. The harness also endues with him intense strength, when in some sorts increase his lifespan. Toomes is advanced in age. He is a strong fighter and a remorseful killer. On one occasion, he restored his youth, which I know they do the whole thing. They don't do that in this movie, but it'd be cool if they did. You know, I would like to see King come back as the character. Maybe this time dealing with age. I just had some ideas with the character. I was just thinking about it out loud. But anyway, yeah. Toomes, he's a salvager turned arms traffic after his company is forced out of business. He uses suit with mechanical he's forged from Charati Technology. Jon Favreau is Happy Hogan, the former head of security for Stark Industries, Tony Stark's driver and bodyguard. Jon Favreau, of course, directed the first Iron Man movie. One of the first movie he was in was Rudy. He directed Space, Elf, Star Space Adventure. Yeah, I think he directed Cowboys and Aliens. That's a good movie. Chef, I like that movie. The Jungle Book from 2016, decent movie. Except for his Lion King remake, in my opinion. Yeah, and he's come back as Happy, of course, after this, and I don't think he was an in-game. Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man No Way Home. But him and Downey, they've been doing these movies since 2008, so they're the ones that started it. Gwyneth Paltrow comes back as Pepper Potts, the Tony Stark's fiance and CEO. Well, she just has a small role, but Gwyneth Paltrow, she was in the first movie Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, the Avengers, and you see her come back in the character in Avengers Endgame as well. Sadina as Michelle, one of Parker's classmates, also known as MJ. Mary Jane Watson. Selena, not a fan of this actress too much. That's just me. Rather she would come back in Far From Home and Spider-Man No Way Home. Especially a New Legacy. Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of Selena, but that's just me. Donald Glover is Aaron Davis. Aaron Davis. In the comics, I think he is the uncle of Miles Davis. Miles, who becomes the new Spider-Man. Yeah, Donald Glover. Let's see if I've seen him in the movies. Oh, he grew up in Georgia. I didn't know that. He was in the Muppets, Mystery Team, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I know he voices Simba, which honestly I don't care about that, but that's just me. Yeah, we don't see Miles in here, but he is mentioned, not by name, but you get the hint. Jacob Paulson as Ned, Peter's best friend, and he did come back as a character in Infinity War and Endgame, and Far From Home and No Way Home. Larry Harry as Liz, Laura Harry. I can't. Laura Harry. I can't say the name right. She's about 35 years old. Okay. Well, I've ever seen any of the movie, just this. Tony Rebel as Flash, Focus Rival. I didn't care for this Flash. Probably my least favorite Flash, to be honest. But he did come back as a character in Far From Home and No Way Home. Yeah, he's the weakest Flash Thompson I've ever seen. I'm sorry. And, well, let's see. And I can't even really speak. Boogum Woodham as Boogum Woodpine, I can't say that name right, as Herman Shocker, and Thomas Tomb, who was the second person to use modified flash shooting versions of Roman's Gauntlets. Yeah. But Herman Schultz, Shocker is definitely one of his better. Yeah. I hated the way they used Shocker, but Shocker's got like these gauntlets. Yeah. He has a battle suit, was equipped with rubber shot gauntlets. It's pretty a tough fight for Spidey. He's definitely one of the best Spider-Man's best foes, in my opinion. That if you played him, the only movie I think he's in the Total Recall remake. Yeah. I remember him in that. Oh, he's in The Rock 1996. Okay, I think I might remember him in that. Sniper 2, Ray, Black Dynamite, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Yeah. Tom Daly is Anna Maria Hogue. Most Tomei is May Parker. First reports Tomei's casting will be. Oh. Yeah, I can see why the backlash is needed. I do think Marissa Thomas is good. Job is made, but she's too gorgeous. I don't remember. I loved her and my cousin Vinny. I haven't seen the paper. Oh, she was in the paper. Okay. And Michael Keaton was in that movie, I believe, too. She was in Wild Hogs. I remember her in that movie. What Women Want with Mel Gibson. Yeah, Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell. Uh, but she does come back as the character in Far From Home and No Way Home as well. Spoiler alert: she dies in No Way Home. Yeah, and Robert Downey Jr. comes back to Iron Man. Downey Jr. 80s movies like Back to School, can't even, but he's been doing these movies since the first Iron Man film, the first ever MCU movie. And he came back after this movie in Infinity War and Endgame, having a bigger role in those movies. He's in here, but every now and then just pops up. But he has more of a bigger role in Infinity War and Endgame. So, you And The Judge. I really like that movie, The Judge. They did with Robert Duvall. In the Sherlock Holmes movies, I like those. Yeah, I know he's playing Doctor Doom in Fantastic Four. First, I'm like, really? He's already Iron Man. You don't need him playing Doctor Doom. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. Downey's a good actor, but it seems like Marvel nowadays, they must be paying him pretty good to come back. Because he's the one that started this franchise. Chris Evans does respond to the rules. Comes back as Captain America just in previous film doing like certain videos or whatever. Rocket appears only in public service announcements to play that part of her school, trying to give the kids advice. Jennifer Connelly provides the voice of Karen, and by the way, she does have a very sexy voice. But Jennifer Connelly, it's on other superhero movies, The Rocketeer from 1991, The Rocketeer, uh, Hulk, Annalise Hulk. She was probably the best thing in that movie, in my opinion. So yeah, it's hard for me to recognize her voice in here, but she does have a beautiful voice. Yeah, a shame she didn't come back as the voice of Karen. Yeah, yeah. All right. Sorry, I know I'm 31 minutes in. The film was directed by John Watts. He directed this one, Spider-Man: Far From Home, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Final Destination, and Bloodlines, which I haven't seen any of those movies. The film has about, it's only the director himself that is one. You got like 7 writers on this film? Jeez. How many damn writers you need that's Jonathan Goldstein? How many damn writers you need on this movie? But The Incredible Witchstone, Horrible Bosses 2, Vacation, which honestly, some sequels are probably movies I don't really care to see. And The Flash, yeah, that was such a good movie. John Francis Delay. But I would take Tom Holland over Ezra Miller any day, I'm sorry. Yeah, he's also wrote Vacation Friends, Dungeons and Dragons, The Flash. Oh, yay. Christopher Ford, who's also worked on the script for Star Wars Skeleton Crew, this movie, Robot and Frank, Clown, Cop Car, Chris McKenna, Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Spider-Man: Far From Home, No Way Home, Spider-Man: Brand New Day, which I heard is the new Spider-Man movie that's coming out. Eric Summers, Ghosted, Spider-Man: No Way Home, and Far From Home, Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, hmm. Stories by John Goldstein, Johnson Brand Delay, based on Spider-Man created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, produced by Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal. He produced Ghostbusters 2015. Oh, yeah. Venom Busters, yeah, because that was such a great movie. Spider-Man: Homecoming, Venom, yeah. The Girl in the Spider's Web, which I've seen the trailer for that movie. Did not look interesting. Spider-Man: The Spider-Verse, Spider-Man: Far From Home, Venom: Let the Become Spider-Man and Home Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I still haven't watched. Spider-Man: Beyond the Spider-Verse, which is going to be released in 2027. Sometimes by Salvatore Tonto, yes. Bird Box, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Space Jam: A New Legacy, 65, Any Given Sunday, Changing Lanes, edited by Dan Lupton. He's edited films like Happy Campers from Hell, Elf, Thor: Space Adventure, Iron Man 1 and 2, Cowboys and Aliens, Thor: The Dark World, the first Ant-Man movie, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man 2, Bad Boys for Life, Spider-Man: Far From Home, Bad Boys are a guy, Beverly Hills Cop, episode 4. Actually, Beverly Hills Cop 4, basically. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. Forgive me, it's 10:23 at night, so, uh, Debbie Berman, she's produced films like, well, edited the films like Space Champs, Touchback, Black November, Black Panther in 2018, Captain Marvel in 2019, and Love and Monsters. Other Marvel movies, except for Love and Monsters, but Michael Jingo, let's see. He's done music for the Mission Impossible, Jurassic World, uh, yeah. Production was Columbia Pictures, Marvel Studios, Sony Pictures releasing. It was released July 7, 2017 here in the US. It's 133 minutes long. The budget to make the movie was $175 million. $175 million. The box office made $880.9 million worldwide, so it still was a hit. It's the second most successful Spider-Man film, and the sixth grossing film of 2017. It received praise for the light tone, focus on Parker's high school life, the performances, generally Paul and Keaton. Yeah. And of course, you got the sequel was that 2019 Spider-Man Far From Home and 2021 I can let Spider-Man No Way Home. And of course, they want to make Spider-Man a brand new day, so yeah. And so for the plot synopsis, and again, the film is about 2 hours and 13 minutes long. Yeah. But let me, and again, there will be spoilers for this review. So again, let me move this a little bit. If you haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming, if you haven't seen this film, do not watch this review. Turn it off right now. And there'll be, make sure you always read the description box below. And guys, if you want to know doing videos, just click the bell. Click all personalized if you're subscribed to my channel. And it will tell you probably like community posts when I post something. Could be a life update. It could be, when the next review is or whatever. Or when I upload a video for this, it'll let you know. Or any review, it should let you know. But anyway, let's get into the plot. So what the story is about is that it does take place after the events of Captain America Civil War. That's where it takes place, which makes sense to take off from there. But anyway, so everybody has experience with the Avengers. Young Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, returns home to live with his Aunt May, Marissa Tomei, under the watchful eye of his mentor, Tony Stark, Iron Man. Parker starts to embrace his newfound identity as Spider-Man. He also tries to return to his normal daily routine, but he's distracted by the thoughts of proving himself to be more than just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, proving that he can be a hero, he can be an Avenger. Peter must soon put his powers to the test when the evil Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, Adrian Toomes, emerges to threaten everything that he holds dear. Toomes is planning to rob and, you know, he's going to sell these high-tech weapons, and so Peter must, become your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It has to go up against Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture. Must come up against him and his crew, and he must stop the Vulture from succeeding with his plans, and he must take down and defeat him and prove that he is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and he has to save the day. So that's the plot for you. Yeah. He also has to learn that with great power comes great responsibility, which is with Spider-Man. I get the point. They don't need to say it. I've always known that since ever watching the anime series or watching the first Spider-Man movie from 2002. I don't need to know it, as I do. But I'm gonna talk about the movie itself. Maybe read some quotes. Let's see, I have a quote there. Okay, I do. I'm gonna talk about the movie itself, and then remember there are going to be spoilers. So again, if you have not seen Spider-Man: Homecoming, turn this review off. Hope you guys like my shirt by the way, but don't spoil the movie for yourself, okay? So, but you've been warned. All right, I'm getting started here. I warned you 3 times in the video, and I also warned you in the spoiler in the description box below about spoilers. So anyway, so the film opens up following the Battle of New York, with Tony Stark and the federal government order the damage control. Adrian Toomes, Mount Keaton. He owns this company called the salvage company that they fix or they repair damages to buildings and stuff. That's what they do for a living until this department, the State Department's lady tells them, get out of there, this area's been affected. Please, take everything. They take some of their stuff from the Shirati technology that they steal. And one guy gets smart with Tim. He's like, look, ma'am, please, I need this job. I have a family and stuff. I was like, I understand, but you're done here, sir. I'm sorry. And he's like, you shouldn't have done this in the first place. He's like, I shouldn't have done this in the first place. And Tim punches the guy in the face. I don't think they need to point guns at him because all the Tim's wrong. I'm like, okay. But they point guns like, you're done here. You're finished. Like, okay. And, you know, they see on TV happens like, the rich guy messes up, because after the events of what the Avengers did, the fight with the Jurati when, Loki tried to take over him. So he mentions like, he's like, the boy, he's like, no, we're not going to turn it back. He's like, all right, boys, the world's changing. It's about time we change too. And he uses it to further a criminal agenda. Even though it says no, it's actually 8 years later. Takes place 8 years later. The crew are making up big atomic weapons deals. And Tim begins wearing his wing harness. This gives him the ability to fly. Yeah, as he spends his time stealing it, he makes money off of giving it to criminals, terrorists. So he's got his own little criminal crew. They become criminals, and well, Toombs desperate. Now Toombs, you can, like I said, he is the villain, but you can sympathize with him. He's got a family to provide. He's got a wife and daughter. Spoiler alert: he is the father of Liz, who Peter had a crush on, by the way. But he's doing it. You can understand it's wrong, but he's doing it for the right reasons. Yeah, he's probably the most Spider-Man villain where I can understand his motives. Well, same thing with Green Goblin as well in a way. Even though he is wrong, he's just trying to save his company. You know, or Doc Ock, I can feel the most sympathy for because Doc Ock accidentally, Otto in Spider-Man 2 got hurt real bad. You know, Sandman I can feel for, but Sandman they should have just not have him in the death of Uncle Ben. That was stupid in Spider-Man 3. Then I'll feel more sympathy. But yeah, he lost his wife. He was just trying to do an experiment that went wrong and turned him into a monster. You know, but yeah, he's got that suit, which again I like the suit. I like the mask. I know you can't see it here, but it is pretty cool. Yeah. Then you have Peter Parker, who gets recruited to start to help the battle at the airport in Berlin, where he battles Captain America. He's making a video. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna, I can get it." Tom Holland can be a little annoying at times, and sometimes funny. Tells him he's not ready to become the Avenger. Yeah, and he's of course like, he's like, "Hey, May, you're really hot," and okay, we'll just that's inappropriate. Just record that. And they say hi to Aunt May as a recording. And he's like, "Hey, you're gonna take this upstairs? Yeah, I'll take the suit." I was like, "Thanks for the hug." He's like, "It's not a hug. I'm gonna open the door, get the door for you. No, come on, go, get out." I was like, "I'll let you know what." And 2 months go by. 2 months later go by. He's part of the Galactic Academy, Galacticon team or whatever. But he decides to quit to focus more on the Stark internship. Well, pretty much being Spider-Man. That if Stark needs him for something, that he feels his responsibility there, which I can understand why, because it's hard to be a part of Galacticon, whatever you want to call it. It's hard for him to be part of that. Or it's kind of like FCL, CLA in school or whatever, but it's hard for him to do that and be Spider-Man at the same time. Yeah, yeah. And I like the scene though where he gets his suit on. And this is like the most time we see Spider-Man. And I think it's pretty funny moments where he puts on the suit. He's like, oh, it's like fat, but he pushes it and skinnies him up. And he's like, hey, oh, let's go. He's like, fine, web swinging. He's like, hey, everybody, how we doing? And he's like, sees guy still on the bike. He's like, hey, you know, webs the guy up, webs him up in the air, tying him up. And he's like, okay, is anybody got a pair of pants on with, your friendly neighborhood, this is your bike. You can have it back. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And then he tries to stop a guy from stealing the car. He's like, this is my car, dumbass. And everyone's like, you're wicked there. Come on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And Stan Lee as a kid said, don't make me come down there. And then this was this, hey, Stan's like, hey, Marjorie, how's your mother doing? And Spider-Man's like, hey, every day. And while we're swinging, he falls. You know, some guy says, hey, Spider-Man. Spider-Man, yeah, Spider-Man. Do a backflip. And he does. Which, like I said, I think Tom Holland really does do those backflips. He even did it when he screen tested too. So, and his best friend is named Ned. Uh, Ned wants to hang out with Peter, but he's always talking about the Stark Internship, his cover of Spider-Man. He's like England Nola or whatever. He's hanging out with the shop owner guy who has best sandwiches. They say to the cat, eats the good food. But Tim's associates, who he doesn't know yet, he seems to rob an ATM. They're dressed up like the Avengers. He's like, "Hey guys, you wait a minute, you guys aren't the Avengers." And they're dressed up like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and Hulk. The Prophet's like, "Nice to meet you, Thor and Hulk." For the first time, like when the guy's trying to punch him in the face, then because when you punch Spider-Man, he's quick. He's a spider. He's real fast. And they use this technology on him, and he's able to, use web swing guy, webby guy, but accidentally hits this guy's store, the sandwich store, and Spider-Man goes to save him, gets him out of there, and gets his cat out of there too. He's like, "Here's your cat. Here's you go." And Peter, Spider-Man, web crawls. He tries to get his suit back, will get his clothes back on to just go home, but somebody stole his backpack. So he has to web swing home to Aunt May while she's hiding. While she's in the, his door's open. He's able to use his web, just crawl, jump down, and he turns around. And he told Ned to come hang out later so they can build like a Death Star, Lego Death Star, whatever. But and he sees him, and Ned's like, "Oh yeah, Peter, you're Spider Man." Like, "I'm a Spider. You're the Spider Man from the YouTube." He's like, oh my god, you're an Avenger." So he's like, "Ned, you can't tell nobody about this." He's like, "Okay, okay, see you tomorrow." And the next day he questions him. He's like, "Can you lay eggs?" I was like, "No." How did it happen? He's like, "Well, Spider bit me. Right after Spider bit me." Where's the spider now? The spider's dead. I was like, "Can you do this?" Like, "No." They have gym class, and Liz is talking about with some friend, this girl named Liz that he likes. She talks about having a crush on Spider-Man, and Ned says, "You do know Spider-Man?" Because I know I don't. I know him. I'm not supposed to really talk about it. Looking at Ned, and he's like, "Okay, well, he can come to your party." Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, and I'm friends with Black, and I do like when Flash says, yeah, and I'm dating Black Widow. Yeah, he goes to the party that night. Flash makes fun of him. He calls him Penis Parker. Penis Parker, his friend's not showing up, and then he's like, "What am I doing? Hi, I'm Spider-Man." Then he sees something, wrong going on at nighttime. He sees blue lights going off. It's the same guys that robbed. Flakes, he web swings himself over there. Well, first of all, he has a hard time getting over there nearly. Well, I think, where's it only? I'm getting confused. I'm sorry. Well, this scene where he's trying to run to get to them. He's trying to web swing, and he goes to this golf course. He's like, as soon as he shoots the web, doesn't work. And so he has to run. He's like, "Man, this sucks." I thought that was funny. I thought that was hilarious. Then he sees that Tim Associates Herman Herman Schultz, who is the Shocker from the comics, and Jackson. He's a guy that works with Toomes as well, but he always has an attitude with Toomes. He's got a real bad attitude, which Tim doesn't like. They're going to look some Aaron Davis, who was, of course, like I said, the uncle of Miles Davis, who become Spider-Man in the future. Maybe we'll see Miles and Spider-Man in the movie. Who knows? Yeah. He sees them talking. Jackson, who is the Shocker for now, like punches Spider-Man using the gauntlet, and he's like, "Hey, shoot! You want to shoot somebody? Shoot me!" And Charles is like, "Sure." And then he webs him. They run. He's chasing them down. Like that. He nearly runs into a pool. Yeah. He runs into the pool. He's like, "Cool movie." As they're watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off, he runs with girls. They're like, outside their house tent in a tent. There's little girl, them. His eyes are messing up. The two eyes are messing up. He's like, this little girl's like, Spider-Man yells. And the chase scene is very entertaining fun. It does remind me of that. He's like, "Nice cooking on the grill. Bye." Just running through people. It's like a little homage to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Eventually, he almost catches up with them, but then you have he doesn't know it's Toomes, but it's the Vulture. Vulture, clips him with his wings, flies him high in the air. That's pretty intense. Spider-Man's not Superman; he can't fly, but he almost drowns in the local water in a lake. There's a Stark. He monitors Spider-Man through a suit. Gay Parker warns him against involvement with the dangerous criminals. Yeah, Parker is like, Parker, don't worry about the flying guy. We have people like Avengers who can deal with that. Well, why aren't you dealing with it though? And Stark's not there. He's in another country anyway. I guess Stark's busy. They don't think it's a big deal, but even though it is a big deal, yeah. And he tells him, "Don't do it. Just go back to being a kid." And of course, Peter has no intention of listening to him, being the teenager that he is. But later, though, Toomes comes, after flying back to his headquarters, back to his lair. And he's like, damn it, eating it. And he gets on Jackson. It's like, okay, that means no big deal. It's a big deal. Like, I give a crap, I know you don't give a crap a lot of things, but I do. I have a family to provide for. And then he's like, big whoop, and he's like, all right, you're done. You're off the crew. You're fired. And he's like, and Jackson's like, can you afford to let me out there? Knowing what I know is like, excuse me? I can tell your wife about it, threatening to tell his wife and his kid about it. Uh-uh. And she was like, which one is used for? He grabs one of the weapons, and he shoots him. He's like, I thought, he kills him, disintegrates him. It's like, damn. He's like, calling yourself the Shocker, shocking. You know, I love it how Keaton go crazy and when Keaton go crazy in a role, I love that. But then he picks up that gun, shoots him, Jackson dead, and then gives Herman Schultz the gauntlet, and he's like, congratulations, you're the new Shocker. And Parker, he's instant back in his mask. I do like that he wears his mask quite a bit in this movie as well when he's Spider-Man. You know, Yeah. It is nice to see more Spidey. Do a couple scenes. You know, like I feel with even with the previous movies. Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man 2 still was a great sequel and a good story, but you want to see Spider-Man more in the suit and in action and stuff, and web slinging and stuff. Yeah. But Peter achieves part of this weapon left behind by Bryce. They remove the power core, they test it out, and they can use a tracking device in it. They're like testing in it, doing science work in it. They're like in a class, and the teacher says, "Don't stab yourself" or something like that. The tracking device at least Schultz to Parker and Ledge managed to invade him. Peter was able to like sneak around, and I would say, he webs a spider tracer on on Herman's foot, and he learns that it leads to Maryland. So Parker goes to the Galacticon team, you know, be part of it, and it's just right. Gets a phone call from I think Tony was it? I think or Happy, and Happy says that he's busy, that the Avengers are moving to a new place. That Tony Sola is like, don't you read the news? He's like, don't give me a worry about. Like, don't call me if I need to worry about anything. You know, but Spider-Man, you know, but Peter puts on the new suit. It's like an electronic mechanic suit for Spidey suit. Then Karen, which for Jennifer Connelly that talks to him. He doesn't call out first. He's like, no, I want to go in instant kill. But he web slings over there. Sees Summer shows. He's like, I can listen to them. And then he nearly webs the gas station. And the bad guy's not paying attention. Hmm. Toomes in his Vulture suit is flying to steal some equipment. He's able to get the equipment. Spider-Man tries to stop. He's like, that doesn't want you. Big Bird, and they fight a bit more. But Tooms is able to push Spidey into the. And he's got like these. It's like kind of like a force shield that they can use. But then he grabs the other Spidey's like, I jump, jump out, hit his head, knocks himself out. But ends up being overpowered and he traps inside the truck. He calls them to Miss Nationals. He discovers that the Jashari Energy Core is unstable. Forward trace leads to the Washington Monument. Well, he's stuck in here for like maybe 37 minutes. Stuck as well. Somebody help me, help me. He's just messing around, testing his powers, testing what he can do with the suit. He's like Karen, he talks about Liz. Liz is perfect, she's beautiful. But she wouldn't date anybody like me because I'm not like Tony Stark. He's like, well, I would date you. Well, thank you, Karen. That's nice of you. He's like, well, we've been here for 37 minutes. And he finds a way, he's go through these codes, realizes that the energy core is a bomb, and Ned has it in his book bag. He tries to call Ned as Spider-Man. He's like, Peter, where you at? He's like, I'm sorry, Liz, I couldn't be there. And he's trying to run there as fast as he can as he's running his web shooters. So he leads him, to the Washington Monument. Right just as the core explodes and traps leads in it, and also some of the other students. Yeah. So Spider-Man has to, web crawl all the way up there to the monument, which is pretty intense to watch. The cops try to shoot at Spidey. He's trying to get into the window. And I like that he has like the fly kind of suit, whatever. That's really cool. But breaks in there real quick, just as it explodes. The just start the energy core. The energy core explodes, but he's able to web it to save them up. Web and pull the web. Gets these kids out of there. Liz almost falls, but he webs her. He's like, "This is your moment, Peter. Kiss her." And then Peter falls, and Flash is like, "Do you know Peter Parker?" But he ends up alright, just knocked out. He saves it before the elevator plummets, though. And as he's doing his own investigation, he's able to find that he talks to Karen. She tells him about Miles Davis. I mean, not Miles. Sorry, Aaron Davis. Miles' uncle to review the tomb's locations. He's like, where's the guy at? He's like, the guy in the suit. I know the guy's in the suit and he's menacing and all that stuff. And he's like, but you said shoot me. Hey, that was a cool thing for somebody to do for somebody. And I'll tell you. But you're not getting, Peter tries to use the intimidating voice, but it doesn't work to his advantage. It doesn't work. It's funny. But he's like, well, you're a criminal. You deserve that. And he webs the new virus, Matt Gargan. Matt Gargan in the comics is the Scorpion, I believe. Yeah. It's the State Island Ferry. So on this ferry, he has a web sling over there. And the FBI operation was attempting to arrest everyone involved in the weapon sales. By the way, they were called by Mr. Stark, by Tony. Yeah. Peter, trying to fight some of the bad guys. He's like, oh, you couldn't give me that thing, huh? And he webs the guy. And like a badass, he tries to fight Tomb, but Toombs is in his suit. You know, he's able to get the weapon from him. But doing that, the weapon goes crazy. Toombs, while Herman Schultz like jumps on the back of his suit, of his fly suit, and they fly up out of there. It destroys the ship. You've seen the trailer, and he's trying to web it. And he's like, "You're 98% successful." I was like, "What?" And she, everybody's like, "Go Spider-Man," but they're about to fall in the water. People are about to die. And Iron Man shows up. He's like, "Hi, Spider-Man." He's like, "Mr. Stark, what do you need me to do?" He's like, "No, nothing." He's like, "Give me back the suit. You're in trouble. I trusted you, Peter, and you failed to me. You didn't listen to me. You gotta start questioning. Do you deserve that suit? No, you don't. You need to figure out why you need why you wear the suit. Why you're Spider-Man." Takes the suit away from him. He goes home, and Aunt May's mad. Says, tried to call you like a bunch of different times. I've called 5 police stations." And he's like, "I'm sorry, I lost the Stark internship." And he cries. He's upset about it. He's like, "It's okay. And you think you need to take a shower," is what she tells him. Yeah. He focuses on his personal life, though. He goes back to work. He does go to detention for missing the decathlon, and does good. And he asks out Liz on a date. Well, ask her to the prom. Yeah, he arranges her the upcoming homecoming dance. And then most two murders, they decide to leave the operation. Now that Stark is on the ship, knowing that Iron Man and the Avengers will come down on her, and it's over. Although he has no intention. But she decides to make phone call hit, which will set him and his few remaining associates up for life. Yeah. And Peter, who's safe for break between Spider-Man, but that all changes on the night of the dance. So Parker goes to Liz's zip house, pick her up, only get a shock to learn that again her father is Adrian Toomes. And Toomes is like, "Hi, what's your name? Pedro." He calls him Pedro a couple times. And says, "Oh, I don't drink beer." The right answer. He seems like a good father, and so and Toomes does seem like a good guy, but he can be a real mean, nasty guy underneath sometimes. A real dirty guy. And he's gonna take him home, and Billy starts talking about, "Well, Peter, you disappeared," and then Thomas Sparrow's like, "Well, way to go, Spider-Man." And Bill just eventually able to put two and two together. The more Liz talks about Peter missing and Spider-Man, and he deduces that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. He tells him, "All right, Peter, look, I'll be honest with you. Does she know you're Spider-Man?" He's like, "No, nobody knows." Good. Okay. I'm grateful for you saving my daughter, and I'll let you live for that. But he does show warns him he'll show no mercy if he continues to interfere with his plan. He tells him, "Peter, but if you continue to interfere with me, you continue to mess with me and my business, I will kill you and everyone you love." And the thing is, though, when Michael Keaton gets your blood going, Michael Keaton is very intense. Uh, it's not just with his performance, the way he speaks, but with his eyes. Keaton can be very intimidating. He's intimidating as hell as Batman. He's also intimidating as a villain. Because when he says, "I'm going to kill you and everyone else," he means it. And it scares Parker enough to listen to him. Then Parker realizes the Stark cargo plane is about to go. Happy gets everything out of the Avengers Tower, you know, for their new headquarters. Parker realizes that even without the suit, he's still Spider-Man, and he's about to go on his date, enjoy his time with her. But he tells Liz, "I gotta go." Learning there that with great power comes great responsibility. No matter what the suit is, that Spider-Man is who he is, and with that comes great power, great responsibility. So I think Peter realized that in that moment, ran off, and I know it's an old crappy suit, but he needed something. Puts on the old suit, you know. Parker gets ambushed first by Schultz. This, I didn't like this thing. First time I'm getting used to it, I like it. He punches Spidey around a bit. I think it's Ned defeats him, or Ned webs him. Peter webs him down and just webs him. Take him, and Tim, says, "Come on, Peter. You know, we all know it's time life stuff first. Big guys like Tony Stark, the rich and powerful, they don't care about us. We're meaningless to them." He's like, "Why are you telling me this?" "Well, this is bringing my son and to distract you." And basically, his wingsuit that he controls, kind of like Goblin controls his glider. The wingsuit, flies at Peter, Spider-Man, and eventually it knocks down the parts of the building. It falls on him. He's like, "I help! I'm trapped." He's like, "What am I doing? I'm Spider-Man." And he wings back up. "I'm Spider-Man," and that was a cool moment. And he follows Toomes, does it a little quietly, so Toomes doesn't know that he's behind him. Jim gets in the in the in the Stark cargo plane, sees the mask, Iron Man's mask, and all the other the Avengers stuff, and is happy to sell it, and is gonna. Sorry, my phone freaking messed up. Yeah, but Spider-Man does make some noise. It's an invisible plane, and he's able to see him on the camera. Jim goes out there as Vulture goes to confront him. Yeah, and the plane crashes. They fight. He's like, "Come on, Pedro." They fight against him. I didn't really find the fight all that interesting, to be honest. I like. I would say Spider-Man 2 had like the train fight. Amazing Spider-Man 2. I enjoyed the fight with Electro though because that's all. It's very bright and the special effects are amazing in Amazing Spider-Man 2. I like this fight with Electro. You know, yeah, that was a lot more entertaining in my opinion. This fight mm, didn't really excite me that much. I mean, there's cool moments where he gets Spider-Man down, pins him down. Spider-Man has to web him, eventually able to get him and knocks him out and webs him up and saves him for the police. You're feeling it about Spider-Man. Yeah, James nearly gets killed, but Peter saves him and saves him for the police, and he ends up going to jail for his crimes. Parker is the one that Liz is moving away. MJ is going to places. Well, her family has to move because where her father is. They have to relocate. Like Peter, I hope you find out what's going on with you. It sucks that you left, but even though Peter had to do what he had to do because of Spider-Man. But later though, Stark, he's happy Hogan in the bathroom. Some guys, is like, okay, well, the boss he's not until he's in this place. They go to the more, give him more advanced suit, which you see that suit and Avengers Infinity War. An invitation to join the Avengers Party declines as though he says, well, you know what, I'm just happy being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Walks away happy with that. And that was a test. And I think Stark just wanted to teach him that with Spider-Man with great power comes great responsibility. I think he wanted to teach him that you're just a good friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That he's more than just an Avenger. I think that was Tony's point, and he proved it from Tony's point. And of course, Tony was proud of him. Spark has an engagement with Pepper Potts as president, and of course, I guess he engages the Pepper, you know, asks her to marry him. We don't see it, but I can figure that out. Parker discovers that Stark has returned his upgraded suit and puts it on. Turns it on the window. He's like this, puts the suit on, and May's like, May sees him, she's like, what the? And then that's the end credits. And then we get two post that, post credits we see in prison where Mike Gargan approaches Tim inside the prison. And some guys here like to get back at that. Remember, you know who he is. He's like, no. If I knew who he is, he wouldn't be alive. I think Tomb's gonna do that too. Because Spider-Man saved his life and saved his daughter's life and probably realized what he did was wrong and knows that he paid for it and starting with that, I guess that redemption is to, protect Peter. Or maybe he's planning revenge and is not redeeming himself and is wanting just to kill Peter Parker for himself. Get his revenge. Captain America still takes part in his public service announcements. I like it when Ned talks to him like he's like, I stole the shield, you stole the shield? And I laughed when the gym teacher said, I'm sure this guy's a war criminal now, but he was or something like that. But it's required by the state, so yeah, that was funny. MJ says, the Zedian says, where are you going, Peter? I was like, I'm just kidding, I don't care. Then gets Peter Leslie. Assume that she likes Peter. And at the end, Chris and Captain America has to kill many of these PSA announcements about Peter Victory. He's like, how much more do I gotta do here? And I thought that was funny. And then the movie ends there, and that's Spider-Man: Homecoming. I'll read some quotes real quick, then give you my final opinion. We're almost done, guys. Hey guys, legal weapons for 10:30. Missed y'all. I took your suit. I mean, you had it coming. It turns out it was a perfect sort of tough love moment that you needed to urge you on, right? Let's think. Let's just say it was. Look, you screwed the pooch hard, big time. But then you did the right thing. You took the dog to the clinic. You raised the hybrid puppies, all right, not by best ology. I just wanted to mention that I think with a little more mentoring, you could be a real asset to the team. There's about 50 reporters behind the door. Real ones, no bloggers. So when you're ready, why don't you take it on? We're just the world to the newest official member of the Avengers, the Spider-Man. Wait, what's going on? Peter's not going to Nationals. No, no. Why not? Really, really, right before Nationals? He already quit marching band and robotics club. I'm not obsessed with him. I'm just very observant. Hi, I'm Captain America. Whether in the classroom or on the battlefield, physical fitness can be the difference between success or failure. Today, my good friend, your gym teacher, will be conducting the Captain America Fitness Challenge. Thank you, Captain. I'm pretty sure this guy's a war criminal now. Well, whatever. I have to show these videos. It's required by the state. Well, talk about the events after Civil War. Whoa, what is it that? I don't know, but some guy tried to vaporize me with it. Seriously awesome. I mean, not awesome. Totally uncool that guy. I think it's some kind of power source. Yeah, it's connected to all these virtual princess Peter. So whoever's making these weapons is probably playing. Yeah, alright. Yeah, of course. It's alright. It is alright. Just roll it back to last Friday. With pleasure. Hey, everybody, kick-ass party. Hey, Liz. Please tell me a lot about you. No, no, not that. Just messing around. Thor is the son of Odin. I am Thor, son of Odin. He makes fun of that. Was funny. If I can get Adrian one. So what are you gonna do, Pete? After you graduate, what are you gonna do? I just figured what you guys want to school. You pretty much have your whole life ahead of you. He has a relationship with Tony Stark, so I'm pretty sure he doesn't have to worry. Really, Stark, what do you do? Actually, I don't need something from him anymore. Really? Boring, you gotta hang out with Spider-Man. Really, Spider-Man? What's he like? Yeah, he's a nice, solid dude. I've seen you around, right? Because even the voice. He does Italian, and he's with me at the party. It was a great party, really beautiful house, lots of windows. You were there for like 2 seconds. I was there longer than 2 seconds. You disappear like you always do. Terrible, terrible what happened down in DC though. Just terrible. Were you let that old how Spider-Man showed up in the elevator? Actually, I didn't go up that way. I saw it from the ground. You head in there. Gun drop. I'm gonna give Peter that old dad talk. Don't let him intimidate you. Have a safe fight. A safe flight. Does she know? Know what? So she does know. Close to the vest. I admire that. I've got a few secrets, Mom. One of the reasons I didn't want my daughter to date. Peter, nothing is more important to me than family. You saved my daughter's life, and I can never forget something like that. So I'll give you one chance. You ready? You walk through those doors and you forget any of this happened. Don't you ever interfere in my business again. Because if you do, I will kill you and everyone that you love. I'll kill you dead. I'll kill you dead. This is what I'll do to protect my family. And then I just saved your life. Now what you say? Thank you. You're welcome. Now go in there and you show my daughter a good time, okay? Just not too good. Yeah. Alright, well that's enough reading quotes from the movie. So anyway, get my final opinion on Spider-Man Homecoming. I love this movie. This was good. Before I get into my problems though, I do like the story. I do like seeing Peter dealing more with high school, and I like seeing that he wants to become an Avenger, and realizing